"15 pathetically entertaining horror film creatures explored." We might have our differences as to what's scary and what isn't, but let's all agree on one thing. Monsters are, by definition, weird. They come in a variety of shapes, forms, and sizes, each with their own unique origin, which itself is a total head-scratcher in most cases, by the way. But what connects Beth Smith's mythology to Captain Holt's Cheuksin is the fact that monsters are living embodiments of the word bizarre. These aliens, ghosts, mutants, people often evoke terror with their idiosyncratic appearances. Tentacles sprouting from their necks, teeth covering their faces, and whatever is up with Doctor Strange's appearance in Marvel's What If, Episode 4. Monsters have a long history of defying conventional understanding and body physiology at every turn of the road. Heck, even Bible-accurate angels would put the literal fear of God in you if you ever saw them. But sometimes, in their attempt to get a reaction from the crowd, creatives go a little overboard and end up creating something that is supposed to be terrifying, but ludicrous. Elicit peals of laughter because of its sheer ridiculousness. We're not saying it isn't intentional in some cases, as you'll see, but the fact that these cosmic terrors can have such an outrageous backstory and/or appearance will make it very hard for you to take in their actions with a straight face. Let's take a look at these oddities of existence. Here are 15 pathetically entertaining horror film creatures explored.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Milo. Bad Milo, 2013. Ever get this feeling that if you take a dump at this very moment, something bad is going to happen? Nothing major, maybe an embarrassingly long fart or a diarrhea bomb, or the unintentional death of your boss? Well, if you're anything like Duncan, we've got news for you. That isn't coprophobia. It's the 2-foot-tall poop monster that lives in your butt. How can we describe Milo? What would happen if the poop emoji gained sentience, underwent genetic experimentation, and then had a midlife crisis? Credit to Jacob Vaughn for trying to zone in on inner demons and primal fear from a fresh perspective, but the results are undeniably hilarious. With a gooey physical body that looks like excrement taking shape, claws, razor-sharp teeth, and 2 black snow globes for eyes, Milo looks almost as adorable as its emoji counterpart, before it tries to eat your head off after emerging from Duncan's rectum. You heard that right. He emerges from inside of Duncan's anal cavity as physical manifestation of his stress, and then proceeds to kill off the source. Talk about having bad tacos for breakfast. He has the manic energy of Chucky, the lifelike animatronics of the Gremlins, and the abhorrent character design of the Blob, all mushed together in one package that you will, and we cannot stress this enough, burst out of your butt. Oh, and if you're wondering if it goes both ways, and we don't know why you would be, but the short answer is yes. For proof, you're gonna have to watch this wacky, colon-centric comedy all by yourself.
Nice tits, bitch.
A demonic turkey called Turkie, ThanksKilling, 2007. If there was ever a turkey that didn't deserve a pardon, it'd be this one, and not just for its comically heinous acts. We understand that low-budget films inherently face a lot of issues during production, and with a budget of about $4,000, this college film isn't hitting the front pages of cinematic innovation anytime soon. But what it did give us was a hilariously caricatured portrayal of what would happen if the gobbledygooker turned into a slasher villain. Turkie is a nightmare, and not that kind that is intentionally designed that way, no. It's as if the most vile high school jock was transformed into America's favorite fowl and cursed with cracking Thanksgiving-themed jokes for eternity. From his opening dialogue, "Nice tits, bitch," to some of the zingers he throws in right before he kills, everything that comes out of his mouth is a pile of hot garbage dressed in cranberry sauce. Even his appearance is so over the top that it transforms into a comedic masterpiece. Leathery skin, wart-riddled face, vibrant flappers, and an anatomically human penis. Trust us, you don't want to know. The fact that this Pennywise-esque villain, who was supposed to awaken every 505 years, gets accidentally released via a streaming hot stream of hot dog piss is all you need to know about how seriously Turkie needs to be taken. If you're looking for a fun time with just the right amount of crazy, this killer turkey is sure to satisfy your appetite. Damn it, the curse is real. Anton Tobias, Idle Hands, 1999. Or more accurately, his hand. Look, Thing T Thing is an absolute sweetheart. His presence was a joyful highlight of the weird ride that is the Addams family. But we'd be hard pressed to say the same about Anton Tobias's hand, which seems to be geared towards one straightforward purpose: killing. Anton, a good-for-nothing teenager, is a true stoner, goalless, perverted, and always faded out of his mind. He gets possessed by a druidic entity that decides to show him that idle hands truly are the devil's playground. Except it doesn't exactly come off as sinister as it is meant to be, and instead turns into a prolonged comedy skit that celebrates the special relationship between a man and his hand. Enter ejaculation joke here. Oh, and it isn't above creating a gifable moment or two, as this very hand led to the genesis of one of Jessica Alba's most enduring on-screen moments till date. Cue your kinky gift. Subtle differences highlight the hand's more malevolent nature, like the fact that it bubbles up as it is being microwaved like a maggot-filled burrito, or the scene where it sharpens its nails to be able to better dispose of the children. Subtle, sensible even, but downright insane when you consider it is a goddamn hand pulling off a series of complicated murders. The fact that the downfall of this soul-sucking demon involves a fat-ass bong rip is all we have to say to you if you aren't convinced to watch this slice of pure 90s entertainment. And if that isn't enough to sell you, watch this movie for Seth Green. Each frame he's in, it's pure stoner comedy gold, and we can't get enough of them.
First, take your brother from here. You'll have to hurry before the demon wakes from his troubled sleep.
Deathbed, Deathbed, the bed that eats, 1977. Passing away, fast asleep, tucked in bed, that's the answer most people would give you when asked how they would like to go. We bet they wouldn't take it kindly if the bed decided to forego consent and just dissolve them in its belly juices by straight up eating them. And yet, that is the premise of this 1977 offering that revolves around, and we wish we were making this up, a literal deathbed. Quick backstory. Demon meets woman, demon falls in love with the woman, and makes love to the woman. But then the woman dies on the bed, and his bloody tears turn the entire upholstery into a telekinetic monster with a rather gawky shade of red. Oh, and also, his soul is stuck in the bed, and the bed is their baby. Did you get all that? If you did, help us wrap our heads around it in the comment section below. Credit where credit's due though. This entire movie plays out like a massive DMT-induced fever dream covered in psychotronic overtones. It manages to deliver a captivating dose of surreal cinema that sucks you in with its oddly alluring visual storytelling, a la Jodorowsky. Then there's the part where the bed dissolves a man's skin to the elbows, leaving him with completely functional yet skeletal arms. What? Not since Army of the Dead have we seen such stellar comedy being drawn forth from literal bones. Except in this case, we think it might have been unintentional. Also, the whole reincarnating its mom, who then proceeds to kill it by performing some weird sex magic ordeal, is a tragic way to go, even for a demonic killer bed. Fan of surrealistic movies or not, if you are willing to suspend your disbelief for about 2 hours, then we recommend you take this psychedelic trip through the paranormal, and then proceed to burn every red bedsheet you find lying around the house, just on the off chance. Millard Findlemyer, the Gingerdead Man, 2005. On paper, an evil gingerbread man sounds sorta cute, doesn't it? We're imagining Gingy from Shrek, except he's made out of darker gingerbread and has a mean scowl replacing his sweet old grin. Nothing could have ever prepared us for this atrocity though, and forgive us, but the name is so cheesy that even a rat would think twice before nabbing it. Millard Findlemyer is a serial killer whose soul ends up in a mysterious gingerbread mix that our protagonist, Sarah Lee, uses to make a massive gingerbread man. Channeling his inner Charles Lee Ray, Findlemyer takes possession of the monstrous confectionery and proceeds to finish the job. The Gingerdead Man looks like what would happen if MODOK possessed a life-sized mound of gingerbread. His features are so scrawny and scrunched up, you can't help but look away in disgust, and his dialogue work is somehow cheesier than his name. While we give him credit for the Pillsbury Doughboy line, yelling out, "That's gonna leave a mark," after slashing up a slasher victim, you've gotta do better than that, Gingers. It's like the writers decided to throw every trope they could think of on a baking sheet and turn the heat up to 12. You can't even eat this gingerbread man to put an end to it, because then it will end up possessing you. It's so bad that it's great. It makes for the perfect bad movie run before Christmas arrives. Weresheep. Black Sheep, 2006. Ah, sheep. Look at them. So peaceful, grazing grass, rolling over and getting stuck, just generally being their blissful, ignorant selves. And eating people? Well, that image is going to stay with us forever now. Yes, this 2006 offering from New Zealand explores the frankly terrifying scenario of bloodthirsty, virus-afflicted sheep that turn regular people into, wait for it, weresheep. Yep, and those bloodsuckers are nasty too. Hulking, fanged beasts that are rightly named as they are. Make no mistake, they will eat first, bleat later. And still, you just can't get past the fact that the ravenous horde you're supposed to be scared of is God's own flock, at least metaphorically. The dichotomy produced by one of nature's most peaceful species turning into alpha predator is fertile ground for some truly hilarious scenarios. Like this one, where the sheep descend on a group of unwitting business people and proceed to feast on their flesh like hungry hyenas. Or this one, where the final incendiary device properly explodes after one of the sheep farts on it. Even the Battle of the Weresheep looks like it was plucked out of a pilot episode that you just know was pitched as Underworld meets Shaun of the Sheep. If you can get over the jarring premise, Black Sheep will give you one of the most memorable watches of your lifetime, featuring an antagonist that both George Orwell and Stephen King would have comical nightmares of. Jack Frost. Jack Frost, 2005. You know it's bad when your clearly borrowed movie antagonist even looks like a cheap knockoff bought at the flea market. But hey, Jack Frost got a sequel, so it must have gotten something right. This reimagining of Chucky sees the eponymous crazed killer get zapped by genetic acid fluid, or something to that effect, and gets transformed into a psychotic killer snowman that is hellbent on getting revenge on its arresting officer. Surprise, yes. While the plot might as well be child's play with a winter mod, what makes Jack Frost stand out is the outrageous fact that its main antagonist is basically a version of Olaf we would rather destroy than dance with. And Olaf is the nicest little thing Disney ever created. Fight us. Jack Frost is so comically vile, you can't help but find his over-the-top antics rib-tickling. First off, they did him dirty by making the snowman suit apparent. How are you going to feature a full body shot 6 times in the film and make the costume show movement once, when it's supposed to be a damn killing spree? And then there are hilariously villainous one-liners that make him feel like the caricature he is. Seriously, Jack? You don't see how cheesy that "asked you for a smoke" kill line is? Alright bro, you do you. Icicle puns and snow jokes aside, Jack Frost is a true testament to how bizarre the human mind can get. A character so fundamentally tropey, you can't help but enjoy him in a sense of morbid self-awareness.
Now come on, go ahead. You know you want to hit. You know you do.
E.B. Evil Bong, 2006. We wonder what Cheech and Chong would think about a soul-sucking bong that traps them in the bong world every time they take a hit out of it. What? Tommy Chong is in the movie? Well then, let's swiftly move on to what should, by rights, be a stoner's worst nightmare. You know that feeling you get sometimes when your pipe is kinda clogged and you feel like the bong rip is pulling you in and not the other way around? Slap a hot chick's face on that feeling and then take a look at the movie's initials. Yep, you've got it right. EB is a voodoo-possessed bong that will transport you into the bong world after you take a hit out of her. And no, we are not in fact tripping. At first glance, Bong World is like a paradise, a slightly hellish strip club filled with beautiful women who are willing to give it up before they suck your soul dry and leave you for dead. And we mean this quite literally, guys. Her evil plan is something a stoner would actually be afraid of. No one wants to revel in pot smoke and clean up bong resin from the oceans, man. Do you know how disgusting that stuff is? The very idea of an evil bong that gleefully preys on the souls of ignorant stoner kids is something that should not work. And yet, there have been multiple Evil Bong movies in the years since, including a surprise crossover with the Gingerdead man that sees Millard finally give up on his vengeance and accept defeat by sparking up. Pot enthusiasts or not, the outlandish existence of EB is all the motivation you need to give it a watch.
What's in the basket?
Belial Bradley, Basket Case, 1982. You know, we kinda relate to our next entry. If you'd asked us to spend our entire lives shoved inside of a basket, we'd keep screaming incoherently at the top of our lungs as well. All the time.
What's in the basket?
The fact that Basket Case was never supposed to see the light of day makes it all the more delightful that it did, and gave us one of the most grotesquely memorable characters in the horror pantheon. Belial Bradley, the surgically separated Siamese twin of Dwayne Bradley, is hard to look upon even at the best of times. There's a flashback scene where his deceased aunt is rocking him back and forth while reading him a story, and he looks like an alien there. For the rest of the film, he looks like an angry, Geodude-esque flesh mound with razor-sharp teeth and an appetite for murder. Bound to a basket, he's on a revenge quest against the doctors who separated him from his frankly smoldering hot half and deprived him the joys of human life. It's a sad story with strong serial killer undercurrents that is genuinely horrifying in certain instances. Belial's unique existence conflicting with his desires. Compelling stuff. Only problem is, they made him scream like a dying cat every time he's in pain. So try as you might, your empathy will eventually give way to laughter. Most of his kills are such graphic exaggerations of typical slasher affair that you can't help but slap your knee, clench your gut, and think to yourself, who comes up with this kind of stuff? Diana Cutter's death scene is the best example of this over-the-top modus operandi. He left her with a face full of scissors, giving us one of the longest death screams we've seen on film to date, allowing him to escape torture. Talk about luck, eh? For what it's worth, it is an engrossing watch with some of the rawest depictions of New York City captured on roll, and the most comically lethal personification of the phrase, "What's in the basket?" Piranhaconda. Piranhaconda, 2012. How could Sci-Fi, the same channel that gave us the impeccable Children of Dune series, give us a monstrosity like this? And we mean that literally and metaphorically. As part of their attempt to bring the MonsterVerse to TV in the early years of the 2010s, Sci-Fi created its own version by introducing biological hybrids of existing predator species as primal forces of death and destruction. Cool concept. Only problem is, the execution had unintentionally comical consequences. Take the Piranhaconda. On paper, it sounds like a killing machine. A hybrid piranha anaconda that can breathe on land and underwater? Sign us up for the carnage. Wait, why is this operating a Grand Theft Auto Vice City's level of graphics? Did we miss something? Well, no. This is a TV film, and TV films have notoriously blown budgets. So the monster they ended up using looks more like a base animation edited into the final cut. Not to say that it is bad, I mean it looks cool enough in isolation, and that one fight between two Piranhacondas is pretty awesome. But the fact that its kill animation looks like a generic splatter effect from an early generation PC game is just, it's funny, not gonna lie. The way it mows down humans like they're literally rats, no matter the size of the guns they're wielding, gets you slightly invested in its badassery. The Piranhaconda is vicious. It is the alpha. It is extremely pixelated if you press pause, and will give you 85 minutes of pure TV entertainment. That much is for sure. Sharktopus. Sharktopus, 2010. Imagine you're at the beach. You're having a great time, soaking up the sun, guzzling beers, and you see a shark fin on the horizon. No problem. You get away from the coastline and wait for an evacuation in case of an attack. What do you do when the damn shark rages onto the shore with tentacles for a rear end and a genocide on its mind? This is the movie that started of Sci-Fi's bio-hybrid movieverse, so it only makes sense that Sharktopus is the only creature to star in multiple sequels.
We manipulate this ability by transmitting focused electrical charges to a series of receptors.
And we can see why. This abomination is such a fan favorite. It's a shark with tentacles that can gore people literally anywhere it wants to. What's not to like? Though its animation style and character origins make it feel like it's straight out of Subnautica with a Call of Duty patch. Sharktopus gives you all around value for entertainment. killing off more people with its appendages than the Winter Soldier pre-Infinity War in a single film. This is where the signature animation style was birthed that we saw in its full majesty in the previous entry on the list. And true to the saying, the original is always better than what comes after. If you can sit through this film with a straight face, you do not appreciate the art of idiosyncrasy, and we feel truly sorry for you. It's like sci-fi raised the bar with every kill Sharktopus makes, daring us to laugh harder until we bust a lung or something. Iconic because of its look and reckless abandon, Sharktopus is one of those science fiction oddities you can't help but keep coming back to, and the sequels are just as out of hand as this one is, so watch them all. Robert the Tire, Rubber, 2011. We're firmly entering lunatic country with the last 4 entries, as we present to you our first mute monster. Why are they mute? Because technically they are an it, and it is a tire. A Goodyear tire is the main antagonist of this film, and get this, its MO is making heads explode. Drop everything and go watch this movie. After you finish the video, of course. Please and thank you. One of the best examples of object comedy to perhaps ever grace the silver screen. This whole movie makes a mockery out of the very concept of serial killers and supernatural powers by making a tire the villain of the story, and it works to great effect. Armed with the power of telekinesis, Robert the Tire acquires a taste for murder and carries through on it by making things blow up like watermelons. People's heads are chief among them. Some of the scenes involving the tire are just so out of the blue funny that it takes you a second to register the gravity of the situation. The sheriff's debriefing, the way Robert stalks its victims, and especially the scene where it turns up in its would-be victim's bath, only to be chucked out like the common tire we all think it is. But this tire won't be stopped when it's on such a roll and racks up some pretty hefty kill counts before wrapping up its business and evolving into a tricycle. In the end, he gathers an army of tires and attacks Hollywood, suggesting that one of our alternative post-apocalyptic scenarios could be a tire-based society where humanity has been subjugated by the strength of rubber. Give it a watch for Robert. He's the star of this roadshow, and he does it with no dialogue. Killer Tomatoes. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, 1978. This has to be the movie that inspired Seth Rogen and his ilk to create the R-rated food fest that was Sausage Party, because prior to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes coming out, there were no movies about killer food items seeking retribution on mankind. Now, where will we find the time to make pasta? One of the early horror comedy gems, the tomatoes aren't actually alive in the first film. The production staff used different sizes and types of tomatoes to give viewers the impression that the tomatoes had a dark secret, a la Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. But seeing grown people run away from what is clearly a styrofoam tomato is surely going to make us laugh. As you dive deeper into the sequels, they get hammier, with the tomatoes getting a gremlin-like makeover by the 3rd film, and attempting to eat all of France by the 4th. We know which species of tomatoes we're staying away from this winter. Goblins. Troll, 1986. The Potter family moves into an apartment in San Francisco when the wife Wendy is attacked by a tiny, grotesque-looking creature. It takes on her appearance and starts transforming the nearby homes into a fairyland and the tenants into fairy tale creatures. While the titular troll is a hideous package of hilarity unto itself, we're here for the goblins. They look like the devil after a 2-day bender, with a reptilian beak-like nose, thick sideburns sprouting from a receding hairline, and claw-like appendages for fingers. Add their true form is somehow even more worse-for wear, with sagging bags of red skin stretched across their skulls, disheveled teeth dotting their mouth, and 2 bulging cross eyes. They look like what we imagine Satan would after bombing his nostrils with speed. An endless riot of laughter follows these manic and hyperactive Power Ranger villains wherever they go. Their comically dated appearance brings an old-school charm to the film that makes it a decent watch and really earns the 82-minute runtime. Jellyfish Monster, Sting of Death, 1965. And we close out this list with a slice of the 60s that answers the question, what would happen if the Shape of Water monster turned out to be a Golden Age villain? Florida is known to be home to some of nature's most wildest predators. Alligators, sharks, snakes, a Florida man. Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfish are included in nature's elite kill squad, and is an integral narrative element of the movie's story. After all, Egon has the ability to transform into a humanoid jellyfish monster by attaching itself to the massive Portuguese man-o'-war he keeps imprisoned underwater. It is a pretty nifty plot for a 60s flick, which uses temporal juxtaposition to full advantage and tells a story that sounds like the blueprint for every slasher film that comes in the years to follow. But despite all its merits, the garishly 60s costume work exposed the movie's mythic monster to becoming a cult comedy icon, much like the sad death of Kayfabe in professional wrestling. Q, it's still real to me, damn it. How do you take a hybrid human jellyfish monster with any form of seriousness when it looks like it's got an airbag stuck to its head with gummy worms for tentacles? We understand the whole point of the sci-fi element is to highlight Egon's detachment from humanity and his metaphysical and literal transformation. But it's hard not to look at this creature and immediately think of a version of the bombastic bagman that came from Atlantis. Still, it takes you on a nostalgic trip through cinema history while imploring you to ignore the fact that its main villain has a large mylar balloon for a head, and that it features a very on-the-nose Neil Sedaka rendition of Do the Jellyfish. Pure Hollywood entertainment at its finest.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.